How's it going, everybody? We're here today checking out the Team Associated RC10 Classic. This is a limited edition reissue of the famous car from 1984 that won the very first IFMAR World Championships at the hands of Jay Halsey. Team Associated spent a lot of time and went to great lengths to make sure that the car could handle today's LiPo and brushless power for modern racing, as well as bring a car to the table that's very similar to the old car, but has some differences to protect the collectors. As you can see, the body is very similar to the old one. It's got all the same parts that the original one did, but once you take it off, you start to notice there's a few small differences inside. One of the only real major changes that Associated had to make to the RC10 Classic is they had to redesign the rear bulkhead and move the battery cup forward in the chassis more to fit LiPo batteries, which are a little bit larger than NiCads were in the 80s. The only other real substantial change that Associated made to the RC10 is inside its 6-gear transmission, and it was more of an improvement than anything else. The original RC10 had gears that had to be hand-filed to make them work smoothly, and the idler gears were very rough. Well, Associated has changed the material of those idler gears and changed the profile of the gears a little bit so that the transmission works smoothly as soon as you build the car. Associated went to great lengths to make sure that this car looked just like the original car, but most of the parts are just a little tiny bit different so that collectors would have an easy time spotting an original and high value part from a classic car. Things like the rear arms, the tires, the shocks, and even the steering on the front have all been modified a little bit so that they're easy to spot. They've also marked all of the white plastic parts with an L or an R to indicate left and right, which is something that's exclusive to the Classic. For the Classic, the A-Team did such a good job replicating the original car that when you take one from the 80s and put it next to it, you can see that they're very similar. The only real difference that you can spot is one's got modern electronics versus one that's got old. Side by side, one of the most apparent differences is that they've taken the original shocks, which were bottom loading and held in place with a C-clip, and replaced them with their later versions that were called the Team shocks. These shocks were a lot easier to build and they worked a lot better. Rather than go with the same tires as the old one, Associated contracted Proline Racing to remake the original tires, and that you can see on the sidewalls where one said Team Associated, the new ones say Proline Racing on them. Just like the original, the RC10 Classic is truly a solid gold car. For more details, you can check out our feature in the January issue of RC Car Action, coming out soon.